something really stupid. I did something really stupid again. You want to know what it is? This is Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville. It's a restaurant started by singer-songwriter Jimmy Buffett based on his 1977 song Margaritaville. They've got fried food, Jimmy Buffett's music blasting 24/7, and of course, it is a ridiculous restaurant and one of the strangest reasons that an entire business empire could exist. And for that reason, I drove almost 10,000 miles to go to all 22 locations in the United States and Canada. Here we go again. Our first Margaritaville was located right in the center of Hollywood, California, at Universal City Walking Mall. When I arrived here, there was an entire premiere going on for the new Fast and Furious movie, which was interesting. But I am here to go to Margaritaville, and you may be wondering to yourself, Ephraim, entering this holy place made me feel like a young boy again. Here's what happened. Last year, when we were finishing our final Rainforest cafe, I noticed that there was a Margaritaville in Las Vegas as well. So a joke between us became that next year we would go to every Margaritaville in the United States. I'm pretty sure we made our servers the thought, and then that concept ate away at us for casting. So Eddy and I joined forces again, ready to learn about this new restaurant. We were sat with our send-off crew in a boat design booth where I had to take in our first stop. It had a very clear tropical motif going on with palm trees and a painted blue sky. But my concern began when I noticed that the animals were not eating too big on him. Our booth even had a TV that was playing what I could only assume to be a Jimmy Buffett propaganda. Not only that, there was a noticeable lack of thunderstorms in this restaurant.
There are 22 locations.
This is the stupidest. Should be a
We will be hitting every single.
So we ordered our very first margaritas of this journey, and I was really doing that driving, to say the least. And strangest of all, it seemed like Eddy was having a good time. Well, I guess I'll try to stay positive. After finishing our first Margaritaville, we went to bed to prepare to drive to every single other location of this restaurant. God help us all. And we'd be doing that driving in my 2002 Toyota Tacoma. Just kidding, we got a rental. From LA, we drove last time we had some bumps along the road, like my Tacoma breaking down twice, and we had to consider what would be more reasonable. I had to break the news to one of the children.
Nothing's gonna happen unless it was a Rainforest cafe. It was the best thing that ever happened to my small plain rail body. But that's not the only reason.
A popular family restaurant in Johnson County closes its doors.
Popular restaurant Rainforest Cafe abruptly closes its doors.
The team restaurant Rainforest Cafe has closed its location on Parkside.
Our next Margaritaville was located all the way in San Antonio, Texas, so we had a lot of ground. It was 30, so we drove 373 miles from Los Angeles to Phoenix, Arizona.
Every last Rainforest Cafe, I don't know if I would even be able to look at it.
And on day 2, we had to drive 430 miles to El Paso, Texas. This drive was pretty boring. That is, of course, until we started seeing billboards for something referred to as the thing.
And I got a Beyond Burger with one of my favorite sides, safari fries. What makes them different from normal fries? You're eating them on a safari.
One of the interesting facets of this location, though, was how insanely loud the Arizona The interior of this place was like your average roadside cafe without random until we found the museum walls without very This museum was absolutely ridiculous. It would ask important questions like, dinosaurs were ruled by aliens from another planet. We had stumbled upon the greatest and the dumbest museum in the middle of nowhere. They had entire lore on these aliens. They had life-size sculptures of these guys too. And I don't know who designed these alien sculptures, but they made them kind of sexy, which was distracting. God, oh my God, I'm getting turned on in this museum. Turns out the aliens were secretly controlling all of human history. Great, cool. Then they just started pulling connections from everywhere. The Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, Illuminati, the Easter Island heads, a picture of the Twin Towers. I hope this isn't implying what I think it is. And at the end of the museum, we finally got to figure out what the thing was, and that was this. We set up our camp, made a little fire, and sat there under the stars.
This menu looked pretty normal, other than the fact we
So we finished our drive to El Paso. It admittedly slightly more confused than when we started. Should I say
I feel like that name is a
On day 3, we finally made it to the location of our second Margaritaville in San Antonio, Texas. This Margaritaville was located at the coolest and only place that I've been to in San Antonio, the Riverwalk. And we'd be joined here by a friend.
We were just having a good time.
That's right, Schlatt's joining us for our second Jimmy Buffett experience. The first thing I noticed was the massive blender they had right when you walked in.
For my entree, I decided to start my Margaritaville marathon with a cheeseburger.
We got sat down in the far corner of this restaurant, and I don't know what happens here, but I am suspicious that this is where Jimmy Buffett waterboards came. Also, our towel was decorated with multiple iterations of the same photo of Jimmy Buffett on the paddleboard, which was kind of funny. Then it was time for our next margarita. I got the Beach Club, which was a massive sandwich, and I kind of had a hard time determining where the sandwich actually split. Eddie ordered fish and chips, and they unfortunately did not look very good.
And it was a dinner with a bunch of friends where we were just having
We even got a cute little family photo taken of us. Look at that. I was so full of joy I was. So we said our goodbyes to this Margaritaville. Then we strolled along the Riverwalk, and along the way, we actually stumbled upon an old friend.
The Rainforest Cafe to our next Rainforest Cafe. If we don't, our plans will be
I
squandered.
think it was almost definitely the Margaritaville food because I had nothing but a breakfast sandwich that morning.
We hit White Sands National Park, which is
We left San Antonio to drive to Austin, Texas to crash at Schlatt's place because tomorrow we had to keep heading east.
From there, we began our first 121-mile trek to Dallas, Texas. And when you've got 10 hours of drive time, sometimes roadside attractions become as enticing as ever.
So we departed from Austin on our way to New Orleans, where we'd be staying the night. Wait. Oh my God, he's back. We were passing by my favorite beaver-themed gas station, Buc-ee's, and you know we had to stop. I was almost losing my mind with excitement rolling into this paradise. And walking in, it was just as glorious as I remember. It was a madhouse in here, and they still had everything. Fresh fruit, tote bags, jerky. It was overwhelming. Party supplies, river tubes, delicious brisket. I was losing my mind. A sausage on a stick. The beaver owns the banks. What the fuck is a beaver nugget? My love for mascots. My love for theme. Oh God, it's happening again.
The tires are fine.
Okay, well, I'm satisfied.
I think it might be tinnitus.
We made it to Dallas, Texas. First thing we noticed at this Rainforest Cafe was the population of customers.
This is a month certified man. We're not the only certified. Perhaps it was because it was the first Rainforest Cafe that had stayed war. It could be because of the theory for a while.
Because we did not get a truck engine for the first time. And you can't just have yourself out in the open for rain or for somebody to steal. We decided to go with camo so people wouldn't see our valuable trucks. We assumed there was just a nice little forest.
We traveled about 90 miles to Biloxi, Mississippi for our next location. And you're about to learn, I wasn't lying when I said that Jimmy Buffett had created an entire business empire from a single song. Because in addition to Margaritaville, you got Cheeseburger in Paradise Restaurant, Land Shark Bars, a beer of the same name, frozen drink machines, portable tailgate grills, apparel, drinkware, and as we're seeing for the first time in Biloxi, Margaritaville Resorts. For the purpose of this trip, as long as these resorts contain or are close to a Margaritaville, we'll be staying at them. Arriving here, we were confronted with the true scale of this empire that Jimmy had built. Everything in this resort was Margaritaville. They even had a Margaritaville coffee shop in the lobby, and upon entering our room, we were assaulted with more island vibes. There was even quotes from Jimmy Buffett in the elevators.
And we drove from Dallas all the way down to San
We had to travel through a massive arcade as well, but we eventually found our way to Margaritaville number 3. We were sat next to this volcano-type structure that doubled as a rock wall people could climb on, which was interesting. This time I ordered a tropical fruit margarita, which I did not expect to be a slushie. And just when we thought this would be another average dinner, without any warning, alarm bells rang, and the volcano began to expel smoke. I could feel myself having flashbacks to the thunderstorms from the Rainforest Cafe. But all of that changed when reality set in when the volcano played this sound effect.
And the dinosaurs. The war got to a point where eventually the aliens had to click a big
We were supposed to drive back
button
to Austin,
and send a
Texas.
meteor.
And then immediately after, the restaurant begins blasting the song Margaritaville as we sit in a green haze of confusion. Okay then. Another perk we got when booking this resort was some preloaded arcade credits for downstairs. But since the arcade was about to close, we only each had time to play a single game. Needless to say, it wasn't very hard for me to figure out which game I'd be playing.
To see my broken green child hurting like this is almost but what was even harder to bear was wondering what the deal was while I waited for his release. For some reason, at 7:30 a.m. in the morning, they decided decided to play Saving Private Ryan on this evening at almost full volume. I don't think you understand the fever dream of watching people.
We are about to hit song, and I don't know how it's going to affect me, because we are
at
at
7:30 a.m. in a public waiting room like a good morning America. And I want
there is a irony of Saving Private Margaritaville in Florida. We might consider this to be the base of Jimmy Buffett's house. I don't know what's going to happen.
Saving Private Ryan was playing. I don't understand what I was the most uniquely crafted scenario in hell. By the way, we're about to second time, but now
So I held my breath as we drove into the storm, though. Our first Margaritaville arranged for cluster in Destin, Florida. This Margaritaville was different than any of the previous ones we've seen, as it had mostly like a healing location,
and I made friends with Pro.
In terms of being considered a themed restaurant, though, I was not. It was basically just a pro. But hey, another margarita, and things hadn't gotten too bad yet.
It could be fun with me.
And you know, these animals sort of reminded me of all the mascots in the Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah, not all my ideas are
And
good.
they're all known criminals.
You gotta know what came out, but I ended up ordering chicken tenders while Eddy ordered salmon, which resulted in our meals looking like Eddy was my well-adjusted father and I was his son that refused to eat
Maya the
anything that was not
jaguar,
orange.
tax evasion, Tuki the elephant, cyberbully, Bamba the gorilla, and the can-fish self-and-battery, and Ozzy the orangutan. So we drove to Houston, Texas to visit this Mills Rainforest Cafe. This Rainforest Cafe was a pretty standard mall Rainforest Cafe. Delicious and exciting meal as always. But we went to bed that night thinking of the Rainforest Cafe we had tomorrow. The #1 Rainforest
Next up was the Margaritaville in Panama City Beach, Florida. This location was maybe 5 times
We were
as
greeted the
busy as
next
the
morning by the most
So to get seated, we sat at the bar. At this point, I was already getting exhausted. There were so many animals in this Margaritaville, and none of them were animatronic. And then, even though I was full, I ordered more food. I don't know what was going through my head. I think I thought it would give me more energy, but I just regretted it.
Money could buy. And even enjoyed us plenty with that money.
Then we drove to our hotel for the night and got to enjoy maybe the most beautiful sunset I had ever seen. You know, my problems with the Margaritavilles were growing already, but I'm not going to lie and say that this wasn't a really nice moment. It was so pretty, I don't even know how else to explain it. It was just gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. Tomorrow we continue into Florida's super cluster, but at this point, we now officially have... On day 7, we had to drive the entire length of Florida in a single day to our next Margaritaville in Hollywood, Florida. And we had an increasing worry that, judging by the rain clouds, Florida was not going to make it easy for us. This rain came down on us as if it was a message from the rainforest gods that we were committing high treason. In all of my years of driving, I had not dealt with rain like this. Whenever it was pelting down on us, we dropped like 50 feet of visibility in seconds. It also made me a bit nervous because I had packed most of my clothing in the back of the truck, which was only protected by a tarp. Hope that doesn't go badly. This rain would haunt us all the way until we reached our destination, the Hollywood, Florida Margaritaville Resort. Now, I was expecting this resort to be the same island-themed kitsch as Biloxi, but then we walked into the lobby. This was the fanciest hotel I'd ever been to, and also giant flip-flop. This hotel was so massive that they gave us a map, which we had to use to find our 6th Margaritaville.
Still living off the high of that last rainforest, but
We eventually found the restaurant, and I could feel this one weighing down. More boats, Jimmy Buffett music, this plane again.
God, what is that?
We opened up our meal with yet another margarita, and it turns out this margarita was the first fancy, and I did that to make it too. And I know that sounds like weird and contradictory, but the menu was significantly different than what we were used to. We got ceviche, which was honestly really good, and also these poke nachos. And I know that I'm suspicious of Jimmy Buffett, but these were good. And not big in the sense of them being merely acceptable, these were really good. Which was emotionally and logically confusing.
Brisket like it was the only thing.
And he was beginning to show some interesting symptoms at this point. He was running an empire under my nose. He was feeling the, I guess, island vibe. You're telling me that Eddy, Rainforest hater Burback, is enjoying himself at Margaritaville? Something was happening to Eddy, a metamorphosis of some kind. What are you doing to my boy, Jimmy?
My love for theme.
I guess we'll figure it out sooner or later. We woke up that morning to yet another double Margaritaville day, the first of which was in Miami, Florida.
I don't know if I can continue seeing Jimmy Buffett.
For us was a massive.
I'll go like this, I'll say, I want to see you, Jimmy. I want to see you.
On day 8, we reached the southernmost rainforest cafe in the United States. Just outside of Miami, Florida, was our 7th visit to this magical place.
Although this Margaritaville was a pretty basic location, I got a blueberry pomegranate margarita, which was incredibly sugary. But this Margaritaville was not the most significant location that we'd be hitting today, as we would be heading further south from Miami. In fact, we'd be heading as far south as anyone could possibly drive in the United States. We were going to Key West, Florida, the southernmost point in the United States.
We're going to have to drive across an entire series of bridges.
And the classic truck
And we were a bit nervous about what the rain situation would be like, given the lightning we had seen the night before, and the fact that we were driving behind a truck with a video game amount of propane tanks on it. But we drove it. For people who are not fans of bridges, this would not be the drive for you, because the majority of this drive involved us being on a bridge over water. If you zoomed out, it looked like we were driving in the ocean. And after 2 hours of driving between islands and bridges, we finally made it to Key West, location of the original Margaritaville, Margaritaville Prime. That is, of course, if you don't include the attempted Margaritaville in Gulf Shores, Alabama, that was allegedly more like a club. We're going to keep that just between us. Either way, here we are, Margaritaville Prime. On first impressions, you could absolutely tell this was the original Margaritaville. There was even like a GTA loading screen of young Jimmy Buffett painted on the wall, which for some reason, Eddy was implying looked like him. It doesn't. We got yet again another margarita, and as I was slowing down in my enthusiasm for this animatronicless place, it appeared that Eddy was having a grand old time. He even convinced me to purchase a Margaritaville shirt with him, when in Rome, I suppose. So we left that Margaritaville and checked into our 3rd Margaritaville resort. This one was definitely chiller than Hollywood. It had more of like a motel type setup to the building.
They gave us a free margarita. We were going to start our day. We were walking away, and the lady was like, "We're getting a free margarita." I thought it was a joke. They were not joking.
With a slew of options, somehow more ridiculous than the normal menu. We headed down to the beach of Key West to decompress after a long day of Jimmy Buffett nonsense. As we sat there on the beach pondering the trip thus far, I could feel my sanity slipping. And also, what was going with Eddy? He seemed so carefree, unaffected by Margaritaville's lack of animatronic animals, thunderstorms, ambient monkey noise. And even more so, what was going on with me? I'm the one supposed to be having fun, living in the joy of these restaurants, but it's just not the same. Looking out over the crystal waters of Key West, I could almost see my long lost friends. The Rainforest Cafe mascots, the Wild Bunch, Cha-Cha the Tree Frog, Pookie the Elephant, Bomba the Gorilla. I feel so lost without your guidance. I had no idea what they'd think of this Jimmy Buffett I was spending so much time with. Would they hate me? Was I betraying the Rainforest Cafe on this trip? I don't know. What made Margaritaville so great? Could there really be a themed restaurant just about a god? I don't know. And I don't know if I was ready to trust it. I can probably survive more Margaritavilles. Admittedly, it's nice to see Eddy happy. And we only have like, oh, fuck. There's 15 more? We made it to Orlando, Florida, where we would check into our next Margaritaville hotel. And back when we booked this, Eddy managed to get one of the last hotel rooms before they booked up. And the only other types of rooms that were available was their cottage. Now, I had no idea what this meant. Cottages at a Margaritaville resort? Little did I know, I would be walking into the dystopian manifestation of Margaritaville. This was not simply a collection of cottages. These were no cabanas, no Lincoln log cabins. This was a suburb in the town of Margaritaville in the county of Tequila. Pastel-colored houses lined the streets. It was so picture-perfect, I thought I was in Nuketown. And if things went south, I might need to hide in a fridge. That's an Indiana Jones reference. Not only that, but when I checked in, they upgraded my cottage, so I got a house. I became worried that I'd never make it out of this town. Like I was trapped in some Twilight Zone alternate reality. So I ran amongst this picturesque village. It was a labyrinth of tropical nightmares. Pastel colors, margaritas, quotes from Jimmy Buffett everywhere I turned. I was trapped. There was no way out. Purgatory was here. I was stuck in Jimmy Buffett hell. I was trapped in this purgatory for at least a full 24 hours, but I'm not even sure. The minutes turned into hours, and time just became a construct. Oh, cool, new merch. Wow, look at this fashionable stuff. This makes purgatory almost better. Wow, look at that. You're telling me all this stuff is available right now at 10.store? Oh my goodness gravy. Oh my goodness gravy. That's pretty cool. Ooh, look at that shirt. Oh, people head over to 10.store to get some cool freaking merch. But yeah, I'm in purgatory. I wasn't
not sure how long I'd remain here.
That is until day 11, where I managed to escape this purgatory to rejoin Eddie at the Florida Universal City Walk Margaritaville for our final location of this exhausting Florida supercluster. This Margaritaville was absolutely massive. I'm surprised they could fit this much in one place. They had a collection of sea animals hanging from the ceiling, which tragically were not moving or making a sound. I'm starting to think that these were innocent animatronics that Jimmy hunted for his own nefarious reasons. Another margarita ordered, and I think I'm starting to lose my mind. Not only that, but this Margaritaville had the interesting addition of people on stilts, making balloon animals for customers. I'm not sure how this relates to Jimmy Buffett at all.
It is filtered in and nobody's doing anything about it.
Like Mad Men. And when we arrived at this Rainforest Cafe, we ordered our food and drinks, and immediately we scarfed down mozzarella sticks like starving. Based on the menu, it appears that Jimmy likes to eat like I was a dehydrated elephant, such as the nacho burger or the loaded baked potato soup. I kept it safe and I got fish tacos. Upon finishing at this location, we need to depart Universal, and once getting pretty excited for this because it was finally time to escape the clutches of the Florida supercluster.
See you later, you demonic suburb. I hate you.
So Eddie and I departed to head further north, driving all the way from Orlando, Florida to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, where tomorrow we'll be hitting our next Margaritaville. But before that, this video is sponsored by SoFi. Crocodile College was a void of water out. Getting a student loan was probably one of the smartest. We were joined at the lowest performing Rainforest Cafe with financial freedom they need to pursue their education goals. SoFi offers competitive interest rates that can help you save money over the life of your life. They understand that every student's financial situation is unique, which is why they provide flexible repayment. It was still a Rainforest Cafe. The wow factor was still there. Adding one increases your piggy principles that can help qualify Rainforest Cafe that they gave us a link that could be in poetry. SoFi offers tons of support and help. From a paying for college hotline where folks can set up calls with their specialists, to wealth of videos and articles specifically to college students, to even a monthly scholarship. SoFi's not just here for student loans. They've got checking, savings, credit tracking. Then we drove into New York City, learned about financial year celebrating our SoFi Tower with Jake and prepared to enter the road once in a while, and there's no impact on your credit score. Plus, new borrowers can even get 8.5% discount on the rate on August 31st. Thanks again, SoFi, for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it, baby. I've already been to the Rainforest Cafe 4 years ago. This Margaritaville was located at a place called Heroes Harbor, and I was delighted to see that it's still open. Maybe there is. I bought a Niagara Falls Rainforest Cafe crew neck with all my favorite criminals on it. And at this point, I'd been trying to keep an open mind, but entering another Margaritaville, which by the way we were doing on a Tuesday, was filling me with a new type of dread I had never felt before. Is this what I felt like on the Rainforest trip? No, that can't be right. This is different. I ordered a perfect margarita, which is the normal margarita, because I just could not handle the sugar content of any of their other drinks at this time. And I decided to take the adult route and order some salmon to give a semblance of sanity. This Canadian location was unique in that it was the only privately owned Rainforest Cafe. So we headed to Atlanta, Georgia for our second Margaritaville of the day. Everything was going swimmingly. We were making good time on our drive. That is, until disaster. As we were driving down the highway, we eventually would hit standstill traffic, and this delayed us for a very long time. This was not good because we had to make it to our next Margaritaville tonight in Atlanta. Eventually, we started moving again, but we had lost a lot of time. So we called and confirmed that the kitchen would be closing at 11 p.m., which was awesome. So we finished our drive to Atlanta and walked over to Margaritaville to eat, only then to find out the kitchen had closed an hour early because they weren't as busy. This was a huge problem because even though the bar was still open, Eddie's goal is to eat at every Margaritaville. So it would count if we didn't. And we need to party from Atlanta tomorrow hours before they open. So we couldn't eat here tonight, but the trip would need to be rescheduled. All of the bookings that we made, everything. I didn't really know what else to do in this situation, so I made a gamble. I walked inside and I met with the manager and I said, in all honesty, hey, this is going to sound really, really weird, but me and my friend are going to every Margaritaville in the United States. We really need to eat here tonight because we're going to leave at 8 tomorrow morning before you guys open. Is there anything that you can do to help us out? It could just be some chips, literally anything, as long as we eat here. And to my absolute delight, she says, I got you. So she goes back into the kitchen as the restaurant is closing and starts preparing some food for us. We didn't even know what they were making for us either. It was a mystery. But at this moment, we were in disbelief that they were even helping us out in the first place. And after a little bit of waiting and shock, they brought out the food, and it was beyond anything we could have expected. They made us a full set of ribs with fries and chips with some artichoke dip. They even gave us each a margarita, and this food tasted better than anything I had eaten on this trip. The ribs were fall off the bone, the fries tasted like pure kindness, the margarita was infused with joy. We were blown away with just the
pure kindness that was displayed to us in this moment. And we left that restaurant and just felt so grateful specifically to this manager for helping us out.
We will now continue to go onward to our next Margaritaville stop.
No delay. Very excited with this video. SoFi is
Without any delay, we reached the Nashville, Tennessee Margaritaville, located right in the center of Nashville. And this Margaritaville took on some of the city's identity, like a person playing live country music in the restaurant. But despite the wonderful moment yesterday, I was still struggling with how many we had gone to. I mean, a big part of it was the lack of safari fries. Just put safari in front of fries and I'm going to be good. But you can't do that, Jimmy, can you? And the persistence of Jimmy Buffett to put his plane, the hemisphere dancer, in most of the locations was starting to make me mad. Like, we get it, Jimmy. You own a plane. Good for you, man. Oh, what, the restaurants and resorts and tailgate grill weren't enough? You need to rub in that you own a plane, Jimmy? The nerve of this guy. After leaving Nashville, we drove 213 miles to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. And I'd never been to Pigeon Forge before, so I was confused when everything around us turned into weird gimmicky businesses and something called a dinner view. The fuck is a dinner view? Is it a business where you go fight people during dinner? This strange town is where we'd reach our second to last Margaritaville resort. Upon checking in, it was funny to see all of the Margaritaville decorations, but with a clear Tennessee twist to the design. Changes in latitudes, changes in attitudes, brother. We even got a license to chill.
The location was right on the beach, so after checking in, we decided to go relax and see the sunset. Last year, when we did our Rainforest Cafe,
so we walked across the street to eat at our 13th Margaritaville. Another margarita, some more food, and the only thing notable about this Margaritaville was the strange contraption they had, which I assumed was supposed to fill the blender with margarita, but nothing happened the whole time we were there. I was bummed too. I was looking for some spectacle for once. On day 15, we had a big driving day. We departed Tennessee and drove more than 600 miles to a hotel outside of Philadelphia. And on day 16, we got ready to have
He's the king of being chill and enjoying yourself. Right where my toes wiggled in the sand. Just where Jimmy started this whole thing.
I don't know what's happening to you right now. Yeah, no, we've had it.
Because no matter how stressed I
Our first stop of the day was in Atlantic City, New Jersey, which is sort of like the Vegas of the Northeast. And normally, I would not make that distinction, but in order to reach the Margaritaville, we had to walk through an entire...
liking buffet in some weird cult
casino. So we reached the Margaritaville, and Eddie was behaving even stranger. Guess he's trying to be cool or chill. I'm not sure what he's going for here. He also was looking at the menu like he was seeing it for the first time, and not the 14th consecutive time in 16 days. But hey, another margarita, another round of the same themeless food. Eddie tried to steal some of mine like a little rat. We got another photo taken of us. I'm clearly having the time of my life. I'm so happy. And after we finished, as is customary, a quick touch to the Atlantic Ocean, and then it was time to move on.
I felt refreshed and was ready to head back to mainland Florida. Today's plan was just to drive up to
I just didn't understand how Eddie could be having such a good time. To be honest, it was kind of pissing me the fuck off. I don't know who he was becoming, but it was clear he had a very different view of Jimmy Buffett than me.
There's a Margaritaville restaurant at their city walk. The resort in Orlando was giant. Now, Ted was a little bit late to the bookings of the resort, but luckily, even though they ran out of rooms at the hotel, they had this cottage.
What are you doing?
I'm just very interested.
I instantly just felt relaxed, surrounded by...
Oh yeah, no, I know about it. You've been reading it for like 2 days straight, but you're making a show of it. You're just straight up right now.
Ted, you just gotta learn to
caught up in teaching Eddie about the wonder of the Rainforest Cafe.
Sometimes the water comes in and you just gotta go on with it.
That's called a riptide.
Riptide or not.
I just am confused on why you didn't give us our energy when we were going every Rainforest Cafe.
You don't understand why I'm enjoying going to beautiful beaches rather than going to
A beautiful forest? You need to tell me exactly what I should like so much about these experiences at Margaritaville.
No electronic screaming.
There's still a chance to say that's the
Okay.
most famous
You just
item at
gotta
the
do what
Rainforest
I
Cafe.
do.
The
Not having a
brownie
problem at all, and not
volcano
totally
dessert, a
fish
giant
out,
red
and just
chocolate
being chill
brownie
and
cake,
not
also hanging out.
And it wasn't just Eddie that was acting weird, because I think these restaurants are doing something to me as well.
Still the glory of the Rainforest.
Despite this, I had high hopes for our next Margaritaville, which we would find in the city of New York, home of the Times Square Margaritaville and our final Margaritaville resort. They somehow managed to fit the flip-flop in this one. And hey, check out this view. We were joined at this Margaritaville with my best pals from college, Eddy and Devin. And I'm not sure what I expected from the Times Square Margaritaville, but I for sure did not expect this. They had a giant replica of the Statue of Liberty holding a margarita. It was playing music, there were stingrays and lights. Oh, shoot, this is kind of cool. Katie and Devin were having a good time. It was a fancy Margaritaville, so our food was good. Oh, God. And Eddy was
do I like this place?
No, it's just the margarita. No other reason why that's what happy right now. We gazed out onto the bank. Alcohol is alcohol. I'm here with friends, and we're here in New York, so might as well have a good time. We went to Minnesota, Niagara Falls. We had done and what did I have to go to? Well, every Rainforest Cafe gives you a free souvenir cup every time you buy a specific type of drink. So now, ladies, I have a souvenir cup. I woke up that morning hungover and realized, oh my God, there were still more Margaritavilles to go. Although now that I think about it, that Times Square one was kind of... I mean, no, that can't be right. There were no animatronics, no safari fries. Possible that Margarita... Well, whatever, let's get out of here. Goodbye, giant flip-flops. See you never again. It was time to hit the road. From New York City, we'd be driving all the way up to Syracuse, New York for another Margaritaville. And during a stop, I noticed that something was happening to my favorite. I'm not sure what that's about, but before we reached Syracuse, we would meet up with a special friend along the way. My best friend, Tucker Keene. Eddy.
There we go, way back, you know? And after being absolutely traumatized by the Cat in the Hat ride, we decided to go
For the rest of our drive to Syracuse, I actually rode with Tucker.
See ya, Eddy. The walkway with a plane next to it, and this is where I figured out that every time you see a plane in Margaritaville, it's a replica of Jimmy's personal seaplane hemisphere dancer. Wait a minute, quick clarification here. This is the actual fucking plane. They retired Jimmy's plane, and it is decoration in the Margaritaville in Orlando. I was next to Jimmy's real plane.
Eventually, we arrived in Syracuse at the Destiny Mall. This was a really large mall, like one of those crazy Mall of America type sized ones. And it actually was the first time that we would go to a Margaritaville in a mall. I didn't know they did that. I thought that was Rainforest Cafe's thing. This was one of the more depressing Margaritavilles we had been to. The blender at the front was in pieces. Tucker started investigating inside it. And when we sat down, half of the restaurant did not have people in it. And it was Saturday. Another margarita down the hatch, and the food was alright. It's probably one of the lower ranked Margaritavilles if I had to choose. But that wasn't the only location we'd be going to today. So we waved goodbye to Tucker and his wonderful wife Emma. See you later. And began our drive to the one and only Canadian Margaritaville in Niagara, Ontario. All we had to do was just get through Border Patrol, and we did on the first try. We've gotten better at crossing the border. Obviously, Niagara is where one of the best Rainforest cafes is located, so I changed it to an outfit to try to convince Eddy to let us go.
I'm just glad that they're providing housing to those
we're going to the Margarita.
tired people. Look at him enjoying himself.
We can't even go
Once again,
So, without stopping at the Rainforest Cafe, we headed to Canada's Margaritaville. What I didn't know was how much this location would affect me. We got sat down right next to a giant projector, which was playing more Jimmy Buffett propaganda, and normally I'd be frustrated with this, but then something shocking caught my eye.
And looking at the rest of the trip, I can't wait to explore the other tropical locations this nation has to offer.
I was blessed with a vision of a pirate mascot in this location wearing a Margaritaville shirt. What was the meaning of this? Did Margaritaville have a mascot and I didn't know? And was I falling in love with this mascot? No, that's ridiculous. There's no way I was falling in love with this pirate mascot. That's crazy. I didn't know how to process these feelings I was having, and before I had a chance to try, another volcano alert, but this time, a giant animatronic bottle of tequila comes out of nowhere and begins pouring tequila into the giant Margaritaville blender. They have animatronics too? Wait, what's going on? The menu was special as well. I got a spicy margarita, and it was really good. We got poutine as well, and it was delicious. I could feel something stirring inside me, something I hadn't felt in a while. Was it possible? And as we exited this Canadian Margaritaville, I began to peruse the gift shop, and I saw this. A giant Niagara Falls Margaritaville glass. I must resist.
This morning, I am out of
Sorry, I got a little excited there. We finished the night by enjoying a fireworks show over Niagara Falls, and man, Canada, you have done something to me for sure. Tomorrow we begin our journey west for our final 5 Margaritavilles. stop on this trip was in Cleveland, Ohio. And while this Margaritaville was admittedly not in the prettiest location, something about these margaritas was tasting better, I think. The food was tasty, and I left there with a smile on my face. Really weird. I'm gonna have to see a therapist after this because I don't know what's happening to me. After Cleveland, we drove 350 miles to just outside Chicago, Illinois, where that night we'd crash at Eddy's mom's place, because tomorrow we'd be heading into the city.
Goodbye, Gorilla. Luckily, they said the kitchen was open until 11.
As we commuted into Chicago, these feelings I was having were not going away. Was I going through a metamorphosis too? Something still was stirring inside my soul, but I hadn't figured it out yet. When we got into Chicago, we met up with Eddy's cooler and more charming and sexier brother, Tony. Eddy, this isn't for you. And we also were joined by the illustrious Danny Gonzalez, who seemed very ready to go to Margaritaville. This location had the vibes of an old Chicago bar and grill. Danny and Tony seemed to be having a good time, and again, so was I. The margaritas were good, and I ordered more fried food. Eddy seemed to be having like a stomachache or something, but I'm sure he'll come back around. Although Danny got a little bit worried when the volcano alert came on the TV.
Fries and spinach and artichoke dip. Ted and I were kind of in because they had no reason to do this for us, but they just did it because they saw we kind of.
Laura, get in the basement. Get the dogs and get in the basement.
And all the manager asked was that we just give her a good Google and Yelp. So we absolutely did that.
And they started playing Margaritaville. This song isn't so bad. So we left that restaurant, and surprisingly, I was feeling pretty good. So we headed to the Bean.
So nice to us. They did not have to do that. We are two guys.
Said our goodbyes to Tony and Danny, and prepared to head to our next Margaritaville because we weren't finished yet.
Thank you, everybody.
On day 20, we departed Chicago and began our drive to Bloomington, Minnesota for our third to last Margaritaville. My feelings on this restaurant were as cluttered as ever, and this became even more apparent as we reflected on the trip thus far.
Especially because of us mentally exhausted. And as we got to downtown Nashville to have lunch, we walked our way to the Margaritaville. This one was pretty standard. You know, like music, a TV room, and a play.
One of those animatronics where you know the safari fries, they're just fries. You can't just put safari in front of something and make it a new food. It's just a fry.
I got a Southwest chicken salad.
If I handed you a vial of
arrived, the chicken was
and I said drink this, it's called
so dry.
You would taste it?
Well, I don't know, maybe it could be like that.
And if I said drink this is poison, what would you do? Are you thinking about it?
Well, I don't know.
If I said drink this, just give me some time to think. What if it's like a little carrot? What do you mean? Like, what if it's a little character, like a mascot that came up and
then
said,
it was time to head for
try
the
this.
13th in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee.
That's
now,
not
Pigeon
good,
Forge
dude.
is famous for its theme park,
You don't need to
Dollywood.
respect somebody
Now,
who's telling you
Dollywood
to
is
drink
a
poison.
magical place created by country legend Dolly Parton.
We've only got 3 more. Maybe I'll figure it out by the time we do those last ones. What I mean,
And
like,
to be honest, I would love to check this out, but we have no time to do anything on this trip but go to Margaritaville.
right now.
Heading into Pigeon Forge, their main street reminded me a lot of the Wisconsin Dells where I went.
It's a little bit
frequently as a
weird,
kid.
so we finished
Both
our drive,
feel like
arriving at the
Vegas
Mall of America
strips
in
for
Bloomington,
Midwest
Minnesota at
family
5 o'clock.
tourists.
And after a little bit of
The Pigeon Forge
searching, we finally
Margaritaville
made
was
it to
a
the
hotel
Margaritaville
and
at 5 o'clock.
I
What
did
we
not
didn't
expect
expect
it to be
was
in
for
the
this
middle of this
Margaritaville to be
huge entertainment
across
center
the
with
hall
Ferris
from the
wheel.
Rainforest
Ted and I were
Cafe. You can
splitting
see
this
it in the
very
background of my last
interesting room.
video. We had
It
been
was
standing right
covered in
across from this
Margaritaville
restaurant a year
branding,
before,
and also had a
completely unaware
balcony
we'd
that
be
went out
returning
into the
here to
shopping
go to the
center.
same
We headed down
spot
for
to go to
dinner.
the
This
restaurant
Margaritaville
across the
restaurant was
hall.
pretty
Entering this
standard
Margaritaville,
except
my
for
conflicted
two
feelings were
giant
reaching
jugs
their
of
breaking point.
margarita
I was enjoying
ingredients with
myself.
piping
How could this
that
be
led to the
possible
restaurant's
without the
blend.
attributes of the
At this point,
Rainforest
I can say
Cafe?
that
I began
we
to
are
consume,
officially
and this food was
burnt
tasting so
out.
good. I was
13 meals at the
enjoying
same
myself. The
restaurant
environment was
in
wonderful
13
and
days.
tropical
But in
and
times like
stupid
these,
too.
it's
Another
important to
margarita at this hour? But what
higher
time is it?
power that can give you strength. I need to think
5 o'clock.
WWJ.
No, that can't be
What
right.
would
It was
Jimmy
just 5 o'clock.
if Jimmy
It was
didn't
just 5
want
o'clock.
a single
Oh
bite
God,
of this
I'm
food
realizing it
or a
now. It's not just
margarita,
5
he'd
o'clock
kick off his
somewhere. Oh
sandals,
God, it's
throw
5
his
o'clock
feet on the
everywhere.
table,
What's happening to me?
lean
What a
back
stupid
and
phrase. It just
order
justifies
a
drinking at
cheeseburger
inappropriate
in
times.
paradise
Just say that you want to drink at 12:30 in the afternoon. This
if
place is
that's
so
what Jimmy
silly,
would do,
so
I guess.
ridiculous. How could something like it
I
exist? I
loved
reached for my
every
final
single
semblance
bite
of
of it,
sanity.
and I
The
was very
cheeseburger in
glad
paradise, and the
Jimmy was
question still
keeping a
rattled in my
watchful
mind
eye
as
on
loud
the
as a
entire
crashing
meal.
wave. What is Margaritaville?
I wasn't sick of this food or extremely full. I was
Oh
full
my
as a
God.
cucumber. Does this look like the face of somebody
I
who
figured it
isn't
out.
as chill as Jimmy
I think I
Buffett?
figured
To
it
prove
out.
how chill I
I've
was, I
been
decided to
wandering in
grab
the
his
dark.
hat from the
It was
gift
with
shop,
me this
and
whole
I was
time.
totally
It had
pulling it
been
off.
this whole trip.
Ted went to
I
finish his
can't
video in
believe
the
I didn't
room,
see
and
it
a chill
before.
guy like
I
me
had been so
decided
blind to reality.
cruise around and see the
The
sights.
theme. It was all around me. In the air, in the sky, in this kooky character. Hell, even in this roller coaster. It was all so clear to me now. I finally understood what I actually like about themed restaurants. I finally understood why I loved the Rainforest Cafe. And as a result, why I think I love Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville too. It wasn't about animatronics or safari fries or gorillas at all. A themed restaurant was so much more, and yet so simple. It just had to be stupid, and it was so stupid. And so I realized Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville was a themed restaurant, at least by my definition. I could finally truly enjoy this restaurant just like I could the Rainforest Cafe, and lucky for me, well,
Swear to
we
God,
still had
swear to
two
God, I was
more.
dead asleep. After I felt phenomenal, normal Eddie wouldn't have gone on that Ferris
On day
wheel
21, we
alone,
began our
but thanks to Jimmy,
690-mile drive
I
from
had
Bloomington to Tulsa,
The next day,
Oklahoma. This
all
was
we
a
had to
long
do was
drive, but the
drive
joy
from
I was
Tennessee
feeling
to
from my
Atlantic
second
City,
favorite
New
themed
Jersey.
restaurant,
After
Margaritaville,
yesterday, I
powered
have
me through.
absolutely
Eventually, we
zero
reached
complaints
Margaritaville
about the
number
trip. I'm
21 at the
chill,
River
I'm
Spirit
fun,
Casino
I'm
in
not
Tulsa. And this is
exhausted
also
in
where
the
we'd
slightest,
see
and
our
because of
very
that, I
first
decided to catch up on a
Margaritaville
little bit of
Casino,
reading
which
from
basically
my
means
favorite
island-themed
guy.
gambling and quotes on the walls encouraging that mindset. I'm gonna conveniently ignore this portion of the language we're using here around gambling, Jimmy, because I think we're on the same page for once, and I don't want to ruin this thing we got going on, okay? This Margaritaville would be our final fancy Margaritaville. Everything we ate here tasted good. And you know I'm getting the poke nachos again. Yummy yum yum in my tummy tum tum. That's what I say, that's what I've always said. We were graced with another volcano alert, in which this time the margarita would come out of the volcano and waterfall into the giant blender. Really a lot of minerals in that margarita. But despite the dinner and a show we were receiving from Margaritaville today, Eddie was not showing the same enthusiasm for Margaritaville anymore. So the next day, I decided to kindly and maturely speak to him about it.
So Eddie, when are you going to
Other than
change
that,
your
though,
name?
this was a pretty uneventful
When are you gonna change
Margaritaville.
your
The
name?
waiter complimented my
Oh, I don't know.
shirts,
I
which
just
you can
thought,
get
you
at
know, based on the way you're acting, maybe
My
you could
lava
change
lava
your name
shrimp
to
was
Mr.
crispy, and I
Hates
liked
Fun,
the
last
sauce.
name
I was having a great time.
Margaritaville.
I even saw oars on the wall of Jimmy's most famous moments, like when
I don't know,
he
you
performed
tell
for
me,
Facebook.
man. I got
When
to where
he
you were
played
at.
the
I was
electric guitar.
suspicious of Jimmy,
When he
and then I
rocked
opened up my
out,
heart to the
and when
margaritas,
he
and all of a
had a
sudden you start
mustache.
hating
Then we headed to the
Margaritaville?
beach to
What's
see
the
the
deal,
ocean,
man?
so I
So
could
I
really
just want to
take
start
in
off.
the
I don't
atmosphere.
think whatever place you're in is where I was at all. during
New
the trip.
Jersey.
To be honest,
Next,
honestly,
we
I want
made
to
our
ask
way
you.
to
You
New
weren't
York
enjoying
City.
it when
Now,
we had like
normally,
good locations, or
staying
when we
in
started
Times
it,
Square
when we were
would
just
be
kind of
my
having a couple of
nightmare.
drinks.
New
I
York
just
is
didn't
great,
get
but
it.
the
I just don't
crowds,
understand
the
how
germs, and the
we
general
go to
vibe
more
of
and
Times
more of these
Square is a
restaurants,
fever dream.
and you like
But
it more.
cool
And to
Eddie
be
didn't
honest,
think
you
about
get
those
weird.
things.
What do you
So
mean I
we
get
checked
weird?
into the
All I would
hotel
need to do
and
is
went
hold
to
up a
our
mirror to
rooms.
you saying that.
Well, unfortunately for you, there's no mirrors in cars, Eddie. Jesus.
When we
I just
headed
don't understand
downstairs,
why we
before
can't
we
be
went
on the
up
same
the
page,
escalator
okay?
to go
We
to
go
the
on the entire
restaurant, I
trip
was
when we go
talking
to
to one of the
Rainforest Cafe.
employees, and
You
they
hate
gave
it.
me a
You're
warning. They
miserable
said,
the whole
don't
time.
order the
And then we go
Jimmy's
on this
Jam and
Margaritaville trip. You're
Jambalaya.
loving it.
And
You're
I
loving
said,
it. I don't know what's going on,
They
but then I
replied
start
with,
to like it, and I'm
it's
seeing
bad.
maybe the magic
Steer
is in the
clear
sauce.
of
Maybe
it.
Jimmy
So
has
I
something
will
going
not
on.
be getting
I thought
that
maybe
right
we'd
now.
understand
As we
ourselves for
walked into
once,
the
but
restaurant,
now,
a
so
shining
I
beacon
ask
caught
you,
my
Eddie,
eye.
why
In the center
can
of
we
the
not
room
get
was
on
a
the same
giant
page?
replica of the Statue of Liberty holding a margarita
It's
to
who
the
we are.
sky. The margarita glass
We're
was made
different
out of
people,
an LED
okay?
screen that played
You
video
would
on
eat
it.
at a
This
restaurant
was a
that would give
shining
you
beacon
food
of light
poisoning
for all
multiple
of those
times
across
if there
the
was
world
just a
who
little
wanted to head
animatronic
to
to give you
America
company,
and eat at a
okay? And
Margaritaville in
I like
Times
to
Square.
complain
And
about
this
things
wasn't just the
sometimes.
Statue
All right,
of
is that so
Liberty.
bad?
This
It's who
was
we
a
are.
sign
Well,
from
then I
Jimmy
guess
that I had
that's it.
not gone
Yeah.
far
I
enough.
guess
So we ordered
That's
some
it.
food
You don't
and
have
some
to say it
drinks from
twice.
Ted's
I
friends
said
Katie and
yeah.
Devin, and
You
this
said
is
it a
where I
third
decided
time.
to go all in. Anytime I felt a moment of
Was
being
it true?
tired
Were
on
Eddie
this
and I
road trip or
destined to
wanting
never
to
be
go
on the
home,
same page
I
about
cut
these
it
restaurants?
short
I
with
racked my
another sip
brain,
of a
trying to think of a way to
margarita,
bring him
and
back
we
to
had
life. It was only one
margarita
location
after
left, so
margarita.
I had
The
to think
Margaritaville
fast,
in
and that's
Times
when I
Square
realized
also has
there was still a
bars on
chance to save him.
multiple
The last
floors. So we
possible thing
decided
that
to
could get
do
Eddie
the
on my side
Margaritaville
once again.
bar.
Margaritaville's
Drink after
homemade
drink,
key
I could
lime
feel
pie, a
myself
dessert
becoming
infused
closer
with the soul of the original Margaritaville in Key West. It was the only thing I could do to bring the spirit of Jimmy Buffett back to young Burback's heart. And what a perfect place for our final Margaritaville. Las Vegas, where the seeds were sown for this entire trip. I was ready to implement my plan and bring Eddy back onto my side. However, it seemed like Eddy had done some soul searching as well, because he had a surprise for me.
Stand right there.
7 in the morning. I fear that
we are
last
headed to the
night
final
I
Margaritaville.
jimmied
Oh,
a
what do you
little
say
too
we
close
make
to
one
the sun.
pit
I don't know
stop
how
first?
Jimmy does this. I don't know how
wanna
you
go to
can
the Rainforest
sustain
Cafe
this
and get one drink?
Yeah, I do.
That's right. Before our final Margaritaville, Eddie and I were going back one final time to the Rainforest Cafe. And it was so beautiful. Hello, giant pillar of giant fruit. Hello, animatronic gorilla. Hello, Tracy Tree, you weirdo. Hello, fake starry rainforest sky. And hello, thunderstorms. Oh my god, I missed the thunderstorms. It was beautiful, and we appropriately got Cheetoritas, and they were so bad, but so good at the same time. I could feel Eddie and I coming together again, even if it wasn't in the way that I thought we would. So we said our goodbyes to Rainforest Cafe and kept going, because we had one final stop to make, our final Margaritaville. So we entered that restaurant. We sat once again in a boat design booth. We raised our margaritas in celebration, and there it was, in all its glory, a key lime pie. And with one single bite of that tropically infused dessert, we realized what we had done. Oh yeah, we did. We had done it again. Every Margaritaville in the United States and Canada. Through the trials and tribulations, the rainforests and the beaches. We had traveled across an entire continent twice just to go to some themed restaurants. We completed 2 road trips for the stupidest reason ever. And you know, despite our differences, we had done it together.
Next to a massive Niagara Falls. And aside from the projector waterfall, the venue was different, and they had this pirate mascot guy. Hey kid, Jimmy's the mascot. You don't need a pirate, Jimmy's already there. I got the buffalo poutine because we were in Canada, and to my surprise, this was by far the best thing I've had at Margaritaville. The chicken and fries were crispy, the gravy was really good. This was just a really great meal. And then, just over the falls, a giant animatronic of a tequila bottle came over the cliffside. It then poured tequila into the giant blender in front of us. We were having a blast in Canada. We then decided to walk over to the falls. I saw this skunk on the way, check it out. As we were showing up to the falls, we happened to catch it right at the time that the fireworks show started. With a couple drinks in us, we had the best possible time in Canada. I should have a couple margaritas every night.
Bad news, guys. My tummy hurts again.
I don't care anymore. I'm over this whole thing. Today we went to Cleveland, the most tropical Margaritaville that exists. I got a Caesar salad, and the chicken on this thing, wow. Without exaggeration, this was the toughest piece of chicken I've ever chewed in my entire life. And for some reason, out of nowhere, Ted has started liking Margaritaville now? What the fuck is wrong with this guy? Lucky for me, day 19 was in Chicago. Ted and I took the metro into the city because this one was located at Navy Pier. Now, I've mentioned before that I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, so it was really great to be home. And when we arrived at the city, it got even better because we met up with my brother, Tony. When we finally got to Navy Pier, we also met up with my good friend, Danny Gonzalez. Heading into this Margaritaville, I was surprised to see that it looked more like a Chicago tavern than a regular Margaritaville restaurant. Everyone in the group obviously wanted margaritas, and I didn't want to be a buzzkill, so I went for another one again. We noticed that the photos for the fish and chips made them look higher quality than we'd seen before, so out of curiosity, I ordered them again. They looked almost exactly the same. And even though everyone except for me was excited to eat, after the meal, none of us felt good.
Okay, so we just got out of Margaritaville, and we're all feeling like we had a pretty heavy meal, but I think I know what'll make us feel better. The bean! Bean, 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 bean. Bean, 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 bean. Bean, 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 bean.
But even the bean couldn't stop my tummy from hurting. What makes it worse is that Jimmy wouldn't have a tummy ache. He'd probably be cool and chill about all this. I am such a failure.
Alright, we're about to leave my mom's, but I can understand why I felt so bad after eating the fish and chips. I woke up and my stomach is legitimately like, I'm in a little bit of pain. It's not like food poisoning or anything. I just think my body cannot handle this much Margaritaville.
Eventually, I got my stuff together and we started the drive to Bloomington, Minnesota to go to the Margaritaville in Mall of America. During the drive, however, I found out that I was not the only one who was affected by yesterday's fish and chips.
So, Ted and I both got the fish and chips yesterday. Yeah. And we've had some, let's say, stomach issues today.
Yeah.
So I think I can officially say that we're getting pretty damn tired of eating Margaritaville all the time.
Well, you know,
what do you mean? You had intestinal trouble today. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I mean, like, the vibes kind of counteracted it a little bit.
The vibes counteracted it? What are you talking about? You're unhappy while we're on tropical beaches through all of Florida.
I don't know. I think my you know, I realized I had some self-reflection. I realized some things were maybe a little bit different than I was seeing them.
The day you had self-reflection is the day you had diarrhea?
Finally, we got to Mall of America, the largest mall in the United States, so I could have Margaritaville for the 20th time. And Ted seemed more excited than ever for absolutely no reason. Not only are there more Margaritavilles than Rainforest cafes, but this one is taking a toll on my body and I cannot wait to be done. As we entered the biggest mall that the US has to offer, I felt a disturbing energy. Oh God. I had somehow forgotten that this Margaritaville was directly across from the Rainforest Cafe. The two restaurants that have broken my soul and made me look like a fool, sharing a space right next to each other. We headed inside to get this one over with, and as I went to order a water, Ted ordered us 2 5 o'clock somewheres in a blender and an order of volcano nachos. The thought of drinking one of these drinks just 6 hours after trying to recover from yesterday's meal was sickening. And before I knew it, a giant mound of nachos arrived at the table. But somehow, next to my misery, was Ted, enjoying himself to a weird degree for the first time at the 20th Margaritaville. Then it was time for our entrees, and I realized that in my attempt to order as much of the menu as possible, I had only a few chances left to get a dish that I had been avoiding. One that sent shivers down my spine just hearing the name. Jimmy's Jammin' Jambalaya. As I went for a bite, I clearly burned my mouth right here. I burned the shit out of my mouth. It doesn't look hot when you look at the plate, but when I picked it up on a fork, look at the steam, my God. Jimmy's Jammin' Jambalaya was fine. But when you eat at a restaurant 20 times in 20 days, everything from them starts to taste the same. And instead of joining me in my misery, Ted, yet again, was having a blast at the Mall of America. Look at the way he's eating. That drives me up the fucking wall. I just can't fucking. Second trip in a row he's doing the exact same bullshit. I know. That's when, for the first time, the thought crossed my mind. I might kill Ted. After finishing our meal and paying, Ted demanded that we go on a roller coaster immediately.
I mean, can you let me digest for like...
yeah, fuck that, come on.
After the troubles of this morning, and forcing down this meal, and having another super sweet cocktail, going on this ride broke me. Even though they didn't let us film, Ted insisted on going on the ride a second time right after we got off. So nauseous and tired, I walked around alone. There I was again, wasting away in Margaritaville. Not chill like Jimmy, just Eddy. Day 21, and thank God we only have one Margaritaville left in Las Vegas, Nevada. There's another one in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and it's a 10-hour drive. Oh my God. When we arrived in Tulsa, we were shocked to find that this restaurant wasn't just in a casino. The casino was owned by Margaritaville. Walking past the slot machines to get to the restaurant, I noticed that there were Jimmy Buffett quotes on the wall, but they were less about being peaceful and more about luck and winning in the casino? We got to the restaurant and this one was pretty big. Lucky for me, the menu and food quality at this one was much better than most Margaritavilles. And having this food was actually pretty refreshing after a month of cheeseburgers in paradise. But as we left dinner, I noticed how Margaritaville branded the machines in the casino were. And they had these Margaritaville characters on it that I had never seen before. Mr. Moneybags? Lucky Ducky? Who the hell are these people? Ted and I were on the final stretch across the country, and all we had to do today was camp at Santa Rosa Lake in New Mexico. On our way, I stopped to buy snacks at the gas station when this dog came out of nowhere and was just hanging out near me. Whose dog is this? I'm in a gas station. Anyways, I grabbed my snacks and then, oh, hey. The owner said it was his dog. His name was Buddy, and he was very sweet. We got to our campsite, and it was beautiful. Ted made some steaks on the grill, and I made a little spread of meats and cheeses for us to snack on. Having a full day to enjoy ourselves and nature got me thinking. As we near the end of this road trip, I realized that maybe I was trying a little too hard to be like Jimmy Buffett. And on our way to Vegas, I questioned why I had strived to be a beloved, rich, and famous musician that gets to vacation all the time. I mean, what was I thinking? I don't need to be Jimmy Buffett. I need to be myself. And to truly be myself, I need to face what I fear most. Something that has been haunting me for over a year of my life. And finally, I think I'm ready.
Stand right there. Ted, we are headed to the final Margaritaville. But what do you say we make one pit stop first? Do you want to go to the Rainforest Cafe and get one drink?
Yeah, I do.
The Las Vegas Rainforest Cafe was just as I had remembered it. It had a Tracy tree, a cheetah, elephants, monkeys, and of course, thunderstorms. Ted and I got 2 cheetah-ritas, and man, they were bad. But to my surprise, I liked being back. It was comforting in a way. Not like being home, but sort of like when you pass your old high school and it feels familiar, but you'd never want to spend a full day there ever again. After our quick pit stop, Ted and I said goodbye to the cafe and were ready to close this whole thing out.
One more.
One more. We walked just 2 blocks down the strip and finally arrived at the final Margaritaville. This one was one of the busiest and most decorated Margaritavilles of the entire trip. And for the first time, I truly felt it. We ordered 2 perfect margaritas and a key lime pie, a dessert to end our 24-day Margaritaville meal. Turns out I can experience true joy like Jimmy, but only when I'm done doing a thing that I have to do. Our pies arrived, and as the key lime hit my mouth, it tasted like one thing. Victory. And that was it. We had eaten at every single Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville in the US and Canada. Finally, I could go home. We were done. Again. And the only thing left to do was to say goodbye to the man that had helped me through this whole thing. Goodbye, Jimmy. Goodbye, Jimmy. Goodbye, Jimmy. Goodbye, Jimmy's dog. Goodbye, Jimmy. I truly cannot believe that we did this a second time. And after celebrating our accomplishment that night in Vegas, Ted and I ended our journey looking out on the strip in the exact same spot we had just 1 year before. Our second and final road trip doing something like this was now over. And these 2 journeys have done so much for me. I've been able to see so many beautiful locations across this country. I've been able to make countless memories with people that I love and care about. As a person, I've been able to grow and learn more about myself. But these trips were about something so much more than all of those things. What it's all about at the end of the day is giving 2 giant corporations a ton of my money. And knowing that I did that means that I wouldn't trade these trips for the world. Not even if my family was in danger and doing so would save them. So now, after just 45 days of our lives, Ted and I are the only 2 people on the planet that can say we've been to every Rainforest Cafe and Margaritaville in the US and Canada. It's actually not that impressive. Oh my God, was this a giant waste of time? 45 days, that doesn't even count when I planned both trips or when we were editing our videos? Oh my god. Oh no. Oh.